It's me! Please tell me you can hear me. Can you hear me? Please tell me you can hear me. We're going to keep our fingers and toesies crossed. Let's see. Alright, I have a bajillion windows open right now. Alright, I can see a chat. Yay! Okay, we haven't failed. There's a chat I can see. I can see things happening. My computer's working overtime. We're good. Oh, okay, that means I am reversed. Okay, thank you for telling me. Because the preview I was seeing was telling me that everything was reversed, so give me just a sec. Let me do it. Let me swap it. I can do that really fast. So when you see the text on the screen, please tell me if it's reversed or not, because I think even my camera got reversed as well. Oh, thank you for noticing my matchy earrings and lipstick. I tried really hard for you guys. I did try. An attempt was indeed made. Alright, let me see. How can I make this so I can see what I'm doing a little bit better? I have so many screens in front of me right now, it's not even funny. Alright, I'm going to make sure that I can see. Alright. Yeah, just let me know. I'm gonna be doing this a lot because my chat is gonna be on my right. I have another screen over here, and then I can see myself in the presentation in front of me here. Okay, I guess I'll start. I am recording. So like I had mentioned in my Instagram stories and in the actual chat, I'm recording it, so then if you missed it, it's not a big deal. I'm just going to be up on my YouTube. I might make it a private video and just share it here. I also might, make it public, whatever. It doesn't really matter too much to me. People see my face all over the place, like all the time. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I flipped my face now. Okay, cool. This feels better. Da-da. Let me move my logo over here where that needs to be. Cool. Let's see. Can you see? Oh, I just saw, Ashley, that you can't see. Can everyone see my face? Oh, you can't see either. Okay, let me see. It's looking like it's working on my end. Unstable internet connection. Interesting. Well, like I said, I am recording it, so worst case. No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Worst case scenario, you can always just watch it like a little later if it cuts in and out a little bit. I am on Wi-Fi right now. I do have the Wi-Fi for me is a little bit farther back. It shows that now. Oh, that might be a me thing then. Okay. Let me see. See, this is why I was warning you guys. It might fail. Let me stop the virtual camera and restart it. Did the stopping and starting help out? I can hear the Canadian in me when I say help out. A little help out. It could be because of the phone. I would be surprised, to be totally honest. Let's see, because what I'm seeing. Okay. So I'm dropping in the chat. This is what I see on my end. I see you guys here. And it's not telling me unstable internet connection, so I wonder if it's a mobile thing. I also wonder if once I swap out of my face, cool. I wonder if once I swap out of my face, it'll be a little bit faster. Okay, let me get started, and we'll troubleshoot as we go. Again, like I said, I'm recording it anyways, and I'm recording it like on my own hard drive, so it should be okay. Thanks. Listen, I tried to do a little matchy match. At least you can see me, or at least you can hear my beautiful voice. You can hear the lovely Canadian accent, I suppose. It'll be fun. So let me go to the present part. I just swapped it to another screen. You see the presentation. Okay, cool. But it's reversed. Okay, thank you. That was what I needed to know. Thank you. Give me just a sec. Let me flip it. I had a feeling it was going to do that. There we go. Can you read it now? Sweet. Excellent. All right, cool. Okay, guys, want to learn? You ready? You ready to learn? It's going to be super fun. Or I hope it's going to be at least mildly entertaining and hopefully useful. Okay, so you can take notes if you want. You also don't have to. But, okay, let's get going. Let's start. So, this is what we're going to be chatting about. Hi, I'm me, all that stuff, who I am. A little disclaimer, we're going to talk a little bit about goals, time, the spreadsheet, undercharging, charging worth, autonomy, and like, just like, thank you for me. So, who am I? I mean, I kind of look the same as I do in my little photo. Oh no, did it go again? I wonder if I can share. I think I can probably, actually, you know what? I think I can probably share the presentation with you guys. Hold on a second. I think it's just, I think my internet is just like kind of having a hard time. You can still see, and the video is now working on your end. Okay, cool. Okay, I wonder if I can, because I made it on Canva. So I have a feeling there's a way that I can share this that you can maybe view it, possibly. Let's see. So I tried to close everything else off. Let me close off my other computer here. Let's see if that makes a difference. How about I just shared the link, I think, to the website, which should be housing the presentation. I'm gonna turn off everything that I have on that has Wi-Fi on. Cool. Okay, that works perfect. So you can just listen to me talk while I prattle on. Okay, cool. So who am I? I'm Erin. I'm the 30-something calligrapher. I live in Montreal. Again, hence the Canadian accent. Super duper. There's my website if you feel like you want to look. But I mean, if you're here, it means you recognize me at least from Instagram. So always fun. Let me here. Now I'm in the wrong window. Let me close that. Let me close this guy. Here we go. Da-da. All right. We got a quick little disclaimer that I am not the calligraphy police, okay? So, like, everything that I'm talking about, I really want to just, like, say it up front that I am incredibly privileged with the position that I'm able to be in right now. So not everything that I talk about is maybe going to be applicable to you. You also don't have to listen to me. You might just be like, I don't know what the heck she's talking about. And, like, that's okay. You don't have to listen to me. Not everyone is in the same situation. I'm very privileged, like I mentioned in my little disclaimer here. Me and my husband, we don't have kids. He has a full-time, really stable job. We also own our home, so there's a lot of factors that are going in to me also when I think of my pricing. But I'm hopeful that despite that, what we're going to be discussing will be helpful regardless. So there we go. We're going to go to what are your goals? So I always like to start here before I dive into math, because I want to make it really clear that money isn't always everyone's goals, and that's okay. So when you are thinking about your pricing, you have to think of it as a whole, right? There's a lot of context involved. But the thing that is the most important is what your goals are at the end of it. If your goal is to be successful, you have to kind of define what success means for you, which sounds really, how do I put this? It sounds very woo-woo, and I understand that. But sometimes success is just, I want to be able to have more free time, whatever free time means for you during the week, to spend time with my kids. Sometimes successful means it's an actual monetary amount. Like, I want to make over 6 figures every year. Sometimes success can mean, I want to be able to take a vacation that I pay for myself, for my family, once a year or once every 6 months. Like, you don't know. Like, I don't know what your situation is. So thinking about those things is important as we get started. If anything's popping for you right now, I would maybe just write it down, like, as a little idea. Of like, this is kind of what I'm thinking about. This is what my goal is. And like, what do you want to accomplish? When do you want to accomplish them? Who is your client that you're trying to talk to? Who is that dream client of yours? Who are you trying to attract when you're doing your work, right? Also things to think about. And all of this will feed in to your pricing. And figuring out why that's important to you. And I know that, the finding out your why is always something that business people always preach. But it's something that you can kind of lean back on and fall back on all the time when you are feeling unsure about yourself, or you're not sure is this the thing I should be doing? Is this the thing that I should be leaning into? If you can remember what your why is, especially if it's like something really personal for you, right? Figuring out why something is important for you can really help keep you oriented towards that goal that you have. How are we doing over here? I see there's still 16 people in the audience, so that's fun. I don't know if you can see me, but at least, hopefully you can follow along with the presentation I linked, so great. So I'll go a little bit extra too, a little bit into why those questions matter. Like I had mentioned, understanding your why makes it easier for you to make hard decisions as well, and what those consequences are if you take on projects that don't align with your values. Understanding your ideal client and what they're looking for makes it much easier to speak to them. And understanding what your version of success looks like makes it a lot easier to stop comparing yourself to others, which I don't know about you, but for me, 100%. Social media for me used to be really hard. Used to be really, really hard. Even though I would be really happy for people like, oh yeah, great, like got that contract, I'm still sitting here doing nothing. Like, this is, and it's hard to see that sometimes. It can be really difficult. It can be really hard. But if you have your goal in your mind and understanding what your version of success is, like sometimes you'll see people doing, I don't know, traveling to do calligraphy, some other place, and you're like, wow, that's really cool, and you get maybe a little bit jealous, you get a little, which is totally normal. But then when you think about like, oh well, what's my my success isn't traveling. My success is I want to spend an extra time with my family, right? And like traveling doesn't really help with that. So it does help stop, or at least slow down the comparisons between you and other people and your peers. At least in my experience, I've always found that. So I'm going to go into the. Oh, I see people typing. Thank you. Yeah, good reminder. Thank you. Appreciate that. Oh, thanks, Isabel. Appreciate it. So yeah, a little bit of research on your guys' end. So we're gonna start leaning into a bit more math. Okay, leaning into a little bit of numbers. In the now some research portion of the presentation. So I've written about this before in my blog, and I've talked about this on my Instagram before. And like I like to kind of start backwards. You start at the end and you work your way back. So for that, what I mean is it's helpful to think of your expenses as a full year, and then you divide backwards to see how much money you need to charge per client, per job, per contract, all that kind of stuff. So you with this portion, I'm just going to remind people I'm not an accountant, I'm not a legal professional, I'm not giving you advice. Every country, every province, every state is totally different with that stuff, and I don't pretend to be an expert in everyone's local market. However, I would say this is something to look at generally as a whole. Most businesses are like this. You have to kind of take into account an estimate, I would say, of what your costs would be for the year. So things like an advertising cost. So that can take your website, if you take out Facebook ads, signage when you go on site, if you have business cards, anything like that would be advertising costs. If you work from home, I know that there are certain, percentages that you can take away from your rent or for your mortgage, professional fees, things like accountants or a CRM, a client relationship manager, if you don't know what that is. So Honeybook is something like that. 17 Hats, Dubsado. There's a bunch of different types. Fuel costs, or Ubers or whatever, if you want going back and forth to events, if you're using your car a lot to do deliveries to clients, anything like that. Insurance, if you do that as well. Meals and entertainment, travel, your supplies. Listen, there's a reason why I have a whole wardrobe full of stuff behind me. It's because these are all business costs for me. We love IKEA in this household over here. So I would say, generally speaking, calligraphy. I will speak very specifically about calligraphy in this one. Calligraphy itself, on its face, is not a super expensive business. You can maybe get away with everything for maybe $10,000 to $15,000 a year. And when you're talking about a service-based business, it's not too bad. It's when you start getting into carrying product, having to put things in storage, you have to ship things out. That's when you can start getting a little bit more expensive. But anyways, generally speaking, getting a roundabout number for something like this is good. You don't need to be hyper precise, when just starting this exercise, but I would say probably 10 to 15,000 a year would be something along those lines, maybe. Then we're gonna think about how much time, right? So now we have a general idea, like I said, a roundabout guess of maybe the minimum amount of money that you would put into your business every year, with everything in. Let's just say a nice number of 15K. All right, 15,000. You know what? I'm gonna write this down. I'm gonna do this math with you guys, okay? Although I will be sharing a spreadsheet after as well. So let me get my notebook, which is currently my quote notebook, but I'll do some math in it too. I will sully it with numbers. Oh, I see Mary typing. Oh, you love spreadsheets? Perfect. You let me know how you like my spreadsheet or not. Okay, so I'm gonna say, perfect. Thank you, Mary. I'm gonna say around maybe 15K a year. Okay, so I wrote that down in my little Midori notebook over here, which has a bunch of quotes and stuff in it. Again, thank you for Isabel and Talisa for for putting me onto those guys. So I like to think about your time as in your business and on your business. And I know that sounds weird, but in your business is anything that you're doing that you could charge to a client. Yeah, inventory, like, also, I would just like to say, just total tangent. I've already finished this portion. I think I might be almost halfway done my first book. Just, I think you guys are around the same as I am, but anyways, okay, sorry for the tangent. So yeah, sorry, in your business, and it is basically anything you can kind of, like claim that a client could pay for, that you can charge. So, time spent doing administrative work for a client. So if you're talking to them on the phone, Zoom calls, you're writing emails, you're creating their quotes, you're doing drafting, you're making their art, you are driving to the post office to drop their stuff off, you are commuting to a live event, you're sitting at the live event, you're buying, anything along those lines that it's being in your business. And then you have the Lisa, you're so funny. And then there is on your business. So that's basically anything else. So hanging out watching me. You can take courses. You are updating your website, maybe anything like that. That is working on your business, right? So those two, one thing pays, one thing gives you money, the other doesn't, right? It might make you money later on, because if you're improving your website, you might get more clients that way, which will then feed your pocket later. But like, you can't say, I'm improving my website today, I'm gonna charge client A for me working on my website. You can't really do that, right? You have to bake it in later on with your pricing, right? Which is kind of where we're going with this. So, the way that I like to think about this is at a very macro level, how many weeks in the year are there, right? So you're gonna have 52 weeks in the year, right? I'm gonna write this down with you guys if you wanna grab a piece of paper. So if there are 52 weeks in the year, right? You're thinking about that macro. You're like, oh, I have 52 weeks a year I can work. Yes and no. You want to take vacation, I'm sure, somewhere. You want to go, I don't know, you want to go down to Mexico, you want to go and have rent a cottage in the countryside, you want to go on vacation with your family, you want to go visit something, right? You want to have some vacation, right? So maybe we're going to go crazy. We're going to say 4 weeks a year. We're going to do 4 weeks of vacation a year. So that means you then, now instead of 52 weeks of work you have available, you have 48 weeks of work available. So let's say in that, we're going to do a normal work week, okay? We're just going to do 40. Most people don't do 40, most people do more than that, but we're going to be like the reasonable. We're going to do 48 weeks and then 40 hours per week, right? Which means you have 1,920 hours of time in the year to do your in and your on your business stuff. Okay, this number, the 1920, you have to then decide of that before you start your year, or you can start tomorrow, how much in time versus on your business you want to do. This will help you work with the spreadsheet after. So for the purposes of this, I'm going to go 50-50, okay? Which means per week I do 20 hours on my business, 20 hours in my business. This is, again, on average. Listen, for the past 2 months, I've been not getting any paid contracts, okay? I'm not gonna lie. Or if I did, what was it? At the end of June? The end of June I had something, and then that's it. July, August, dead. Completely dead for me, okay? So I've been spending most of my time on my business. However, during the holidays, December, I don't have any time to work on my business. I am in my business. I am doing work. I'm working with clients. I am tired. I don't have time to work on my website. I don't have time to do any of that stuff. Are you kidding me? I got no time. Absolutely no time. So we're talking on average. So I'm going to say, give or take, we're going to do 20 hours a week on your business, 20 hours a week in your business, okay? I hope that made sense. Let me know if that made sense. I'll just be here waiting. It's cool. If there's any questions, any comments, making sense? Okay, cool. We love it makes sense. Before I jump into the spreadsheet, this is the perfect time to ask any questions. I see a couple people typing. The math is mathing so far. Perfect. Thank you, Mary. Oh yeah, coming from corporate, it felt like you had to work all the time with only 3 weeks vacation, but it's so different as a business owner. We have high season and low season, so we have to think differently. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I find too with when thinking of things like this too, and you're kind of going on average over the year, it kind of gives you permission, as long as you know that the high season is coming and you've planned accordingly, when the low season is here, it's much easier to kind of relax a little bit. You don't have to, not everyone, some people are just built different, okay? My husband's like this, he just loves to work all the time, but I like to take a lazy day every so often. I like to go to the botanical gardens and take a wander sometimes in the middle of my week when there's less people, because I can, and I don't have any client work right now. So it's fine. And that being freelance, it is hard to predict these things, but again, there is high seasons and low seasons with this. Yeah, low season is absolutely a great time to brush up on skills, take care of business admin stuff. 100%, Jenny. Absolutely. It's that on your business time versus being in your business. We have time to breathe. You're like, listen, I want to get new branding done. Now is the perfect time because I have time to bug my branding designer. Yeah, true, Isabel. Yeah, like for every December you have a July, and so we know that it's kind of 50-50 and it balances out. It can be easier to think of it as averaging out. Yeah, 100%. Yes, exactly. Very nice to know when you're first starting out and you don't think you're doing something wrong and you don't freak out. 100%. Yeah, there's only some, like, it's. I think July and August, most people just go on vacation. There's also not a lot of special occasions in July and August. June we have Father's Day in Canada and the U.S. I'm not sure about the rest of the globe, to be honest. But I know at least I'm going to be very North American centric sometimes when I'm thinking, just because that's where I live. Yeah, it took you until the this year to get a handle on the feast or famine ebbs and flows. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, because it's hard to know when it's so slightly tangential to me specifically. When I first started my business, this was in 2019, about 6 months before COVID. So I started my business, and I would, anyways, I won't bore you guys too much with this, but I was very privileged and very lucky when I first started my business that I got contracts almost immediately. My market was pretty small at the time, so there weren't that many people that were doing calligraphy. So it was I was very lucky when I first started that I was one of only a few that were doing this work. So that was great for me. I won't lie, it was fun. But then COVID happened, and I was like, well, I know that this is weird and this is a bit different, but I tried my best to not watch the news, and I kind of dove into learning more things and eating all of the carbs. I had a lot of bread and a lot of cheese. It's fine. We don't have to talk about it. Anyways, so then after that, then, obviously the market is coming back a little bit more slowly. I'm like, oh, I'm not sure exactly how this is going. And then last year things seemed to be fine, but also in the summer it was slow. I was like, oh, is this normal? And then this summer it was dead again. I was like, okay, cool. Seems to be the pattern. Where now July, August, I'm just going to take it easy. I'm not going to, kick myself for why don't I have contracts? And then in the winter, they all come back. Like they're coming back in the fall, and then they're booking you for December and all that kind of stuff. So no stress. Not too much stress at all. Okay, next page. So yeah, the know your worth and charge accordingly. We're getting into the spreadsheet. I don't know, on the website that I linked to you guys, do you see the link can you click here where it says click here or no? Because if not, I do have the direct link. So just let me know if you can click it or not. You can click it? Okay, awesome. just in case, I'm going to drop it into the chat anyways. And I am going to do this presentation. I know you guys can't see the thing, but I know for the video I'm doing later, this is going to be important that you can read it. Okay, cool. Okay, so I had made this, as you can see here, this is a blog post I had made. So basically the blog post started as like Instagram stories, and then I made it into a blog post, and then I made a spreadsheet to go along with it, and now we're talking about this, and we're going back to this. And it's very cyclical and circular. So basically the document itself, the spreadsheet, is a way to get a handle on doing the math to be able to divide out how much you should be charging about per contract to make the amount of money you want to make at the end of the year. Which is why you need to know-ish how much money you need to make at a minimum, and then you want to be like, listen, I want to make my minimum amount of money, but I also want to go on vacation. I want to put money in my savings. I want to put money into my, in Canada it's a TFSA, but I think in the States it's a Roth IRA. Listen to me go, talking like I know math and like I know investment things. But yeah, like you don't want to necessarily make the bare minimum, right? You want to try and, make a little something, put in your pocket. I'm assuming a little something. You don't, if you want to hustle a little. So I'm going to swap to the calculations portion of this. So I had made up a little revenue goal per year. So, and I am also doing this in CAD, and so in CAD, in Canadian. However, it doesn't really matter, because with this, you can just change it to not be dollars, right? Oh yeah, and if you want to edit it, if you don't know, you just have to go to File, and I think you make a copy on the top there, and then that's it. And then you should be able to do whatever you want with your own copy, and it shouldn't affect the original one. So, the green is the ones that you're meant to edit, the green cells. The blue cells are the ones that are calculated for you, and the gray cells are just comments to, like, as little reminders. And then the notes column is also there to help you fill the sheet. So, you can kind of plug in whatever, you want to make $75K a year, great. Awesome. Big goal, totally doable. So, the amount of weeks per year, what I'm saying here is the weeks per year that you want to work. So, if for this example I had down 49 instead of 52, because I had decided to do 3 weeks of vacation for this particular example, but you can enter in whatever you want. And then you have your in time and your on time per week. So like I had said, I did 50-50, just for the ease of the math. A little easier. Then you have your in hours and your on hours. I see Isabel is typing. If she has a question. Yeah, if anyone ever has a question, I'm not a math genius, but I tried really hard to make this work and be somewhat straightforward. The 75K, yeah, it takes in account all of business expenses. So this is the 75K, so like you have your base of $15,000 of like you need to make this back to break even, plus your I want to put money aside for taxes, I want to put money aside for savings, I gotta pay the government with whatever I'm making, all of that stuff. It is the net, not the gross, or gross not the bigger number. Is it net or gross? Maths are hard. This will remind me if it's gross or it's the bigger one, not the smaller one. Is it gross or is it net? I don't remember now. Cool. We're doing gross. The revenue goal per the year is your gross number. Actually, let me just change it there. Gross. Oh. Thank you for the question. I had completely forgotten to add that on there. So you'll see when it populates the in and the on hours, it's going to populate as well the suggested price per hour, right? So the rate is how much you should be charging to reach your revenue goal based on how many in hours you have per year, which for this example is $76 an hour. Before you say, wait, I usually charge around $200 for a live event. We're not there yet, okay? I know, I can read your minds. I know that's where that went. Then we're going to kind of dive into revenue streams, okay? This is where it gets a little bit more complicated, because I know that some people do multiple revenue streams. Sometimes they do less. They just do in-studio stuff. They only do live things, etc., etc. This here, like I had written here, this is where you have the most influence. So you have to properly assess about how many hours you work for each client, as well as how many clients you think you can help each year. The hours worked per year will help you keep track of how many yearly hours you've accumulated in step 3. So, revenue stream 1, you can change revenue stream 1, 2, 3, 4 to whatever you want, right? You can put it as live events, in studio, wedding, if you give classes, whatever you want, right? So revenue stream 1, let's say, and this is kind of where live events get a little bit more complicated, because when you're thinking about a live event, you might be thinking, oh, I'm only working 4 hours, I'm only working 5 hours, something like that. That's not the case, because you're spending time before the event getting ready for the event, right? You're packing your bags, you're making sure you have your proper outfit, you're making sure that you are taking the proper classes, you're making sure that you are having the best materials with you, you're making sure you're traveling there, you are discussing with the client, you are going through a lot of that work. So your on-site time that you exist there is not the entire time you're working for that client, right? So if we're assuming revenue stream 1 is your live events, it's more like you're working about 15 hours for a client, right? Because you're doing, I don't know about you, but I take the day before my event, I am like, okay, I'm going to do my little brain setup of like, what do I need? Let me make sure, because I don't always leave my bag packed, right? Because I have to, some of the things I bring to on-site events, I have to use at home when I do other things. So I am, I'm going to spend time making sure my bag is packed. I'm going to make sure that I have maybe snacks in my bag. Maybe I'm going to pack a little lunch for myself. Like things like that. All that takes into time and account for the time you're spending for the client. And how many clients per year do you think you can do on that, right? Maybe if you're thinking, well, during the holidays it's a bit more busy, I can do maybe 15 clients in the middle of the holidays. Okay, perfect. And so that's like maybe 6 weeks you could do 15 clients, and then the rest of the year you do another 15. Cool, that's 30 clients per year. So then the suggested average price per income for that one would be at least $1,147 per client that you would have to charge if you're doing 30 clients a year and the average hours are 15. Does that make sense? Let me know if the math on that is mathing. If the math be mathing. So if you're doing the, cool, thank you, Ashley. And if you're not sure as well, like you don't have to be hyper precise. I'm not talking about micro minutes in this one. I'm really talking macro view on the hours per revenue stream. You don't have to necessarily go through and like count out every hour or minute or second you worked with someone. This is just going to give you a large, like a bird's eye view of what's going on. So then once you do that, so revenue stream 1, 2, 3, 4, however many you have, you should see the hours worked per year. So it's 950. It should be kind of close to the in hours that you had made in step 2, which was 980. Because you're never going to be 100%. You're going to lose hours somewhere. Some days you're going to be a little lazy. You know, sometimes things go a little bit faster, and that's okay too. Which is also something, remind me after to talk about not punishing yourself for being efficient. So let me think about that. Not punishing yourself for being efficient. I don't think I put that on my slideshow. But this is something that I think about a lot. So I'm going to say that out loud. I'm putting this into the universe. Hopefully I remember to go back to it after. So, and then in that here, you'll have the yearly revenue per stream down here on the bottom. Then you're going to see your potential yearly revenue, and then, oh, actually, sorry. The current one, yeah. So in the current one as well, which is B26 times this one times this one, and B19. I made this a little while ago, so I'm trying to think here. Oh, yes. I made it as well so you can do a comparison for how much you're charging now versus how much you maybe should be charging. Yes. I had added this later on, which is why. The first time I made this, I didn't have this, and then I adjusted it later on. So you'll see, and step 2.5 is the hourly rate, suggested price per hour, and then your current price per hour. So you can actively divide out and actually compare what you're doing now versus what you could be making if you just up it a little bit, right? So you'll see here the suggested average price income stream. You'll see here versus the current average price income stream here in step 3 on line 25, D and E. So then when you go through that, then on the very bottom on step 4, you can see the big, huge difference of potential yearly revenue versus the current yearly revenue that you have, just by upping your hourly price. So hopefully that makes sense. This spreadsheet will probably take time to go through. Obviously, we're not going to go through, like, me talking through it, I'm sure is maybe a little bit more helpful versus just reading it and going, these are a bunch of numbers and I don't get it. Which is basically me when I look at spreadsheets. Actually, Mary, what do you think? Are you still in here? You let me know if the spreadsheet meets to your standards. But yeah, the when I was doing it, I definitely had in mind just bird's eye view. We're kind of getting a better handle on things, and then when you plug in what you're charging now versus what you could be charging to make the amount of money that you want to make at the end of the year, there's usually a huge gap, right? So there are 2 ways that you can fix that as well. Or, well, there's a couple ways, but 2 that pop into my brain right away. One of them is up your pricing, or the second one is get more clients, right? Sometimes getting more clients is not possible, depending on where you live. Like I had mentioned before, I'm incredibly privileged where I live, where there actually is a small, but there is an option here where I can do this for a living, right? Sometimes if you're living in the middle of nowhere, or if you're living in, maybe not middle of nowhere, but you're living in the middle of somewhere where they don't really have high-end brands, you're gonna have a harder time just finding quote-unquote more clients. So maybe upping your price, diversifying your revenue stream. Like, there's a lot of, I feel like this is helpful because it just shows you it's not all is lost, right? You just need to figure out maybe being full-time isn't like possible. Maybe that's okay. Maybe you just want to do it as a side thing, and that's okay too. But yeah, how are you feeling? How are you guys feeling right now? Is this a lot? Is this too much? Do we have questions? I'm here. Is everyone diving into the spreadsheet right now? I think they might be. You're gonna have questions later? Cool. That's cool. That's cool. Questions later are fine. I think everyone is just nose in spreadsheet right now. All right, while you guys are all nose in spreadsheet, I will go into a few potential consequences of undercharging. So I know that happens sometimes, it happens everywhere. Either you're coming into the market, you don't know what the average, price of things are. You're like, I'm not really that good yet. I don't want to charge them a lot, or whatever you think, right? There are three main consequences of undercharging that I find exist. So the first one is that you're making, when you're just making just enough, but you're not really making a profit. It can lead really into you having burnout. It's, in my opinion, it's not sustainable long term, unfortunately, because if you're just working, and you're not charging enough to sustain yourself, to sustain your life, to sustain your goals that you decided you wanted earlier, there are some real consequences that can have with your body when you're doing calligraphy specifically, because people don't really think about calligraphy as being particularly physically strenuous. Let's just put it that way. But when you're working, and you're working, 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and all you're doing is writing, and you're not getting enough sleep, it's really hard on you. Your hand can hurt. You can get injuries in your shoulders and your elbow and your wrists. If you're not taking enough time to stretch or walk or do any of those things, and you're just sitting down the whole time. Actually, speaking of, let me be a good example. Let me sit up a little straighter in my chair. Then what happens, right? You're going to burn yourself out. You're not going to be able to do the thing that you love doing, or the business that you run, because you're the only one who's doing it, right? You're doing all of the things. So when you're undercharging, you're going to get a lot of clients, but you're going to possibly burn yourself out, which is, I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, I'm like, that's not very attractive to me. It's not fun. Talise is writing. I'll let you chat. I'll let you write your thing before I move on to the second point. Yeah, burning yourself out can have an impact on your physical health too. I've heard people having their hands shaking from working too much. 100%. Absolutely. And there's a mental component to it as well. When you're not sleeping enough and you're working. There's a few people that are, quote, built different who can handle that, but I don't want to make a huge generalization, but I'm going to go ahead and maybe make a little one here and say most people are probably not like that. So you just have to make sure that you're checking in with yourself, that what you're doing is aligning with your goals, right? And what is aligning with your values, and you're not just doing hustling because the person you're looking at on Facebook is doing it, or on Instagram is doing the same thing. So the second consequence of undercharging, it becomes way harder to raise your prices later on, because you're gonna be maybe intimidated to up your prices. You're gonna be worried you're gonna lose your clients because you started so low. It's gonna be really difficult for you maybe, and a lot of that fear comes in. And this is where, for me, I have less of that fear because of my privilege. Because my husband works full-time and has a very stable income, the money that I make is not make or break for us to pay our bills. So I'm just putting that out there now, and not as a bragging way, but this is how I know that this is hard for people. For me, it was a little at the beginning. I was like, you know what, I'm raising my prices anyways. And I didn't start low. I started kind of medium, and then I've just been raising them. Sure, I don't get as many clients now, but the thing is, the clients I do get don't have a problem paying the prices that I charge. And I don't right now. I'm kind of, I think, at the medium, but jumping and pushing to raise your prices every year or twice a year or whenever you want to raise them. I mean, because you can raise them however much you want by whatever time you want. it can be intimidating because you're like, oh no, what if I don't get any clients? And starting really low, that fear is much more potent. It's much more in there. So yeah, there would be that. And then the third one kind of is similar to the first point, which is like because you're working so much, when you're undercharging, there is such little work-life balance. If you're always working, you won't maybe have time to spend with your family, with your friends, for yourself. Can't have any me time, because you're always busy, right? But the challenge with always being busy, it feels like you're busy. That means you're successful, and I think this is me kind of on my soapbox right now. When you're if you're busy, that means you're successful, and I don't think that that's always the case. I think that depends on the person. I think that depends on the definition of success for you, and I think that if success means busy, I mean, you could be busy with other things that aren't maybe, I don't know. I struggle with being busy means being successful. I have a hard time putting those two together for me. Maybe I'm alone in that, but that's my little soapbox moment. I see a chat. Yeah, it seems unsustainable to always be busy. That's what it looks like to me. Again, some people are built different and they love being busy all the time. And I mean, I like a high season, I like a busy, but I also like to sleep. Not gonna lie. I like a moment of rest. Yeah, Ashley, for sure. I still find it hard to say no. I like being busy with on-site events. It's the in-studio ones that take a lot of time. 100%. I do take, so as an anecdotal thing for me, and you don't have to do it this way, for in-studio things, I almost never take one-offs anymore. Unless I am very dead and I feel like I want to do something, because the time suck in them is not worth it. When you do the math, mathematically, it doesn't make sense to do one greeting card for someone. It doesn't necessarily, monetarily, if you want to actually do the whole, I have these business goals that I want to make for myself, it's almost more worth it for you to, I'd rather take a class than do one piece of art for someone or one thing, as it's hard, and it's hard to say no because you know that you have to charge at least $75-$100 an hour for something to make sense mathematically at the end of the invoice. So, but that becomes really difficult when you're having one person be like, hey, can you write my vows for me on a so I can frame them. It's a beautiful sentiment, but will the client pay $1,000 for something like that? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, for the right client, that's not a problem, but those clients are harder to find. Or envelopes, for that matter. Envelopes are a huge time suck. I personally, I charge, I think, was it $10.50 or $11 an envelope, because the time suck that it is. Okay, Michelle, I think it's because it's our business and we feel like we need to be hustling all the time. That's not the case. 100%. Totally agree. Isabel, or evaluating whether you're wanting to be, quote, busy for you or show to others. Yeah, that's so true. With social media as well. Like I said, it's a lot of it is you want to show people, oh, look, I'm so busy, but I don't know, is maybe. And social media is kind of a lie a lot of the times too, right? Maybe people are just making samples. And it looks like they're busy, but they're just doing their own thing, right? True, one way to say no is to increase your rate, 100%. We're going to get to that. 100%. The hustle culture can kick rocks with open-toed shoes. Agreed. What's the lowest recommended start rate for new live calligrapher? So it's a nuanced question. Because I don't know your market and I don't know what your goals are, right? It is a difficult question for me to answer, as I am, like I said, I'm not the calligraphy police on this one, and I don't love telling people what they should or shouldn't charge, either high or low. Except for my friends who, they know that I kind of yell at them sometimes. I'm like, stop it, you need to charge more. You know who you are. I'm just trying to take my time with this question. I can yell at you anytime, Ashley, no problem. I think it really depends. Like, at the end of the day, you can charge whatever you want. As long as you are happy with it, and as long as you are thinking that this is within your goals, and if this is within your values. That's all I can ask. And it's hard for me to tell you what you should be charging because I only know my market, I don't know yours. Which is why I made that spreadsheet, because a lot of people were asking me, how much should I be charging for this? I mean, at $10.50 an envelope for me, I'm charging way more than a lot of other people. Because I'm like, I don't really want to do this unless it's paying me a butt ton of money. You know what I mean? I don't not want to answer your question. But I'll give you, what can I give you? I can give you the semi kind of overall view of, in North America, in a generalized sense, it is at around $175 an hour. Ish. So it's difficult, but it's difficult. It's a difficult, I also have thoughts on, if I'm new, what should I charge? And I think that if you are being paid to do a thing, you are a professional and then should charge professional rates. So you can do with that what you will. Oh, June, totally good idea. Pricing can vary by location and currency. Good idea to connect with as many calligraphers in your area to confer. That's fair. That is fair. I also think that if you want to charge $500 an hour in a market where it's usually $200, I think you should go for it. If you think you can find clients who can do that and you're marketing yourself in a way that you can charge that much money and someone's going to pay you, more power to you. So it just depends on what your circumstance is. It's very, very circumstantially dependent. Because I understand where the question's coming from. I had the same issues. I see there's a couple people writing. While you guys are writing, I will get to you. I'm just going to swap to the benefits of charging your worth, and maybe that will help answer some questions too. So, one, the biggest thing that I have noticed is that the perceived value of your service is so much higher. So my thinking with that is like, when you're thinking about your pricing, do you want to be known as the cheapest person on the block and people will come to you because you are cheaper than your competition or than your colleagues, or because the quality of your work? Okay, thanks, that works for me. I'm the only calligrapher at the moment in my area, introducing it to the Antigua Caribbean market. Oh, fun! I do intend to be in multiple countries, to the US and Antigua, so I wanted a rough estimate. Okay, Carolee, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Cool. Very cool. But yeah, to my point of do you want people to choose you because you're cheap or because you're the quality of your work? Again, this is something for you to answer for yourself. I obviously have a bias for myself personally. I would rather people pick me because of the quality of my work, not because I'm the cheapest person. This also, I think Talisa, who had mentioned that earlier on, where like it can discourage certain clients from being around, which I like to refer to as the energy vampires. Okay, price choppers. The ones who just want to, they're like, hey, like, can you give me a deal? Can you give me a discount? You know, you're like, I'm already charging you so little. And they're like, yeah, but I want more, but for less money. Like, those people are exhausting. And usually at the end of those jobs, you're like, this wasn't even worth my time. So that would be, the benefit of charging more on that one is the perceived value of your service is higher. There's a little bit of nuance to go with that as well, because the risk you run with a very high price point is that your price that you are charging people does not align with the service that they have received, which means then you're like, they're going to be disappointed, right? So there is a bit of nuance to that as well, of charging higher. You have to make sure that you are at the right level to be able to charge a very premium price. I hope that nuance doesn't get too lost in that one. The other benefit is you also gain more time to use however you wish. So when you're charging a premium, you're going to have less clients, right? You're just going to have less clients because there's going to be less clients in the market who you're really niching down with your pricing, right? That's a good way to do it, because you're going to be losing a lot of the price shoppers, and you're losing a lot of people who are wasting your time. But if you're charging more and you're having less clients, you're going to be making the same amount of money, but you're going to have way more time on your hands. So you can use that time to dive more into your business. You can go and you'll have more time to decide, like, listen, I want to go out and I want to start pitching in person, which I didn't have time to do before because I was working 60 hours a week. Like, how am I supposed to go pitch in person when I'm working so much? Don't have time. Now you do. Maybe you're like, oh, I've freed up 10 hours, 20 hours of my week because I upped my pricing by 50%. You know what I mean? You can do things like that. Or, hey, like, I now have time to go take that online class that I've been really wanting to do. Or now I have time to go and, like, really, like, look up, like, how to make the best website possible. Really study, like, what does SEO look like? Does it even matter? Should it be on TikTok? Should it be doing these things? You'll have more time for you to decide to do with whatever you want, right? You'll be making the same amount of money, but you'll be working with less clients. So at the end of the day, you're good. And generally speaking, you're going to get more quality clients inquiring for your services. So you're going to get more people asking about you when your prices are higher. Ashley, I see you writing. I'll wait until you are done before I swap to the next slide. My next little part of my presentation. Is it? Yeah. How to talk to a repeat client about being paid at a higher rate. Those are fun conversations. It doesn't need to be that complicated. You just have to be transparent. You can do it it depends on when you do it. I would recommend at the end of the year, maybe end of November, you send an email to your clients. If you know that you're upping everyone at once at the same thing. Hi, insert name. Appreciate all the business we've been doing together. I wanted to let you know. I think I might have something like this on my email templates, because I'm like, this is scratching a little memory in the back of my head. They've been a client for a year and have me on site once a month. I want to keep the relationship in good standing. Yeah, I think you're right. I think I do have one of these in my email templates, but it doesn't need to be complicated. Like, hi, wanted to let you know there's going to be a standard rate increase at the end of the year. Until the end of the holidays, you'll be grandfathered into this. Moving into next year, this will be the new price. Looking forward to working with you. Looking forward to our continued relationship together, or something like that. Like, it's a scary email to write. But okay, so I'm gonna stand up on my little soapbox one more time and talk a little bit about being a woman who runs her own business, which is, I anecdotally find myself as a woman, and I find this happens with a lot of women that I know, we all want to justify why we're doing what we're doing. And I find that it usually doesn't help much. But and why I say justify, you want to give a bunch of reasons. Well, because of the cost of living, and because of this, because of that, because of this and the other thing, I think I want to really raise my prices. And you give a lot of, it's not very assertive. And I was very bad at this when I first started as well. Again, so this is my little soapbox. Okay, this is not on the slides. This is just me chatting. I have removed the word just from all of my emails. Hi, I just wanted to reach out to you to just talk to you about every time you say the word just, you're kind of undercutting what your point is. Just taking that word out of an email all of a sudden makes you sound more assertive and like you know what you're talking about. So when you have to write a difficult email for yourself, my suggestion would be to keep it very simple, keep it kind, but don't give a bunch of reasons. Most of the time, Nancy said here, I increased your rate with a repeat client, just do it at the beginning of every year, and they've never questioned it. Yeah, you can just do that. You can also you can just write a little email to all your clients. Hi everyone, or well, individually, maybe don't do a BCC big email. It's a little bit, it's maybe a little bit more cold that way. Hi, I've loved working with you for the past X amount of times. I've really loved being in your store. Wanted to let you know, moving forward into the new year, my rates will be increasing to this. I hope we're able to continue working together, or, I look forward to our continued relationship. It doesn't, like I said, doesn't need to be long. All right, I see another little chatter down there. And then while I'm waiting for that person to, I think it's June is writing. Yeah. While I'm waiting for June to finish writing, I'll go on to my next slide, which is that there are some potential pitfalls. Okay. So some potential pitfalls. Wow. Okay. So when thinking about your pricing, there are certain traps that can trip you up. This is why understanding things like your goals, your ideal client, and the consequences of charging your pricing are very essential. So things to keep in mind. When you're thinking about your pricing, try not to think of what would someone pay for this, and think about how much am I willing to do this job for knowing everything I know now, right? That mindset shift will be very helpful, I think. Because instead of letting the client dictate what your goals are and what your pricing is, you are taking charge and you are deciding what works for you. Giving a discount may or may not be right for you. Let's see, June. I sent an email at the beginning of 2023 with my rates for 2023. I did not point out that the rates had gone up even though they did. I also focused more on the new services I was offering in my new booking system. Didn't get any pushback, and most of my clients love my new booking system, and they were fighting over appointment times. No one mentioned it or had an issue with the higher rates. Boom. There we go. Yeah, you can absolutely do that too. Just these are my rates for 2023. Boom. Don't even have to mention that they're going up. 100%. 100%. Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing. That. So yeah, I had mentioned discounts. So I know that this can be a hot topic of conversation, is discounts. I will tell you what I do, okay? And what I do is I don't give them. Okay, I either do my work full price, or I do it for free. That's it. Or I do it for an exchange of something. the challenge with doing discounts is word of mouth is very, very strong. So if you start giving discounts to people, it can get around really quickly. Even with family, you know, oh, but you did it for my brother's sister's girlfriend. Like, yeah, but, you know, and can get really tiring and really exhausting, and it can be hard to know when to say no and when to stop it. So I think if you wanted to give a discount, my other personal advice on this one is, if you're giving a discount, you have to write down what the original price was on the invoice and then remove the discount after. So people understand the value of what you're giving them basically for free. If you're doing something like that. Something that I used to do was with clients who were friends of mine, I would charge them for the actual thing I was doing. Let's say if I was doing like Christmas cards or something for someone, and I was writing the message inside of them for like 10 cards. I wouldn't charge them I would not charge them the setup fee. I would just charge them for the in the actual the card, the message in the card, and that was it. So I would remove that flat fee, but I would say setup fee, originally blah blah blah, now $0, friends and family discount, and that would be physically on my invoice. So they would see the amount of money that I would be removing. And now my friends don't ask me to do stuff, you know, because they don't want to pay me. And I'm like, that's cool. But the thing is, if I want to do something for free, because I've done work like that with some restaurants in my city, where I went into them and was like, hey guys, can I do your chalkboard signage? I, 1, need practice, and 2, love your food. So how about you feed me and I will do your chalkboard sign for free. And usually they're like, heck yeah, get in here. I'm like, amazing, I'm in there. I am in. That's great. Because it came from me, like, and I don't mind that. What I don't love is when people are like, can you do this work for free for exposure? Ugh. Don't even get me started on that. I'm gonna be having me like go off for like an hour about how much I hate that. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. Scope creep. Scope creep is a thing. So, I don't know if you've ever had this happen, but a client might come to you and be like, hey, I need you to do X. And then you're like, cool, you make your quote, you make your contract, you send that off, no problem. A week later, they're like, oh, but can you also add this? Oh, can you also add this? Oh, can you also add this? And maybe you're like, oh, well, I guess so. Or, yeah, that's fine, I can do that for this one. And then all of a sudden, you're like, wait a second, how did I go from doing this to doing all of this? So my suggestion with that one would be to, if you want to do the extra work, no problem, make sure you write them and be like, hey, this is beyond the scope of what our project was. I would love to do this. We're just gonna have to revisit the quote. We're gonna have to revisit it. I'll add the time onto the final invoice or something along those lines. Usually they're fine with it, but it's just, I guess the through line for all of this is that when you are working, you are the expert in the room. You are the one who is setting the tone, setting the standard of how you want to be treated and how you want to be perceived by the people you're working with. So the through line for this is always to be as professional and kind as possible, but always know the big picture of what you're doing, if that makes sense. All right. I think this is the second to last slide of understanding your numbers and understanding all of the things that I've been talking about. My goal for this is just to give you autonomy, right? I want to be able to, so when you're thinking about your business, how much should I charge for something? You can feel free to ask your peers, but you also have the tools to do some of that work yourself, because it is very freeing and very fun to be able to be like, yeah, I know exactly how much I need to charge for this job. And it's very, and it also means you can also get back to clients really fast. Um, so if you understand where your goals are, where your money is going, the consequences of good and bad, if you're changing your pricing, you can really make super informed decisions for your business instead of like just letting stuff happen to you. So yeah, that is my whole spiel, my whole thing. That is the end of my pricing discussion. Yeah. How did we feel about that? Was that a lot? I know it was a lot. I know. It was a lot of information. There's a lot of stuff going on. Oh, good. I'm glad it was helpful. Thank you very much, June. Oh, you're welcome, Ashley. I'm glad that you thought the information was good. Oh yeah, removing the just from the communications. Total mindset shift on that one for sure. Thanks, Jen. I'm just going to be a lovely write-in. It's going to be one you just writing my name in for president in 2024. It's funny. Oh, thanks for being here. Thanks, Jen. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have been able to see my video, but at least hopefully you're able to follow along with the presentation itself, so that's good. At least, hopefully. Or maybe it was just cutting in and out. Oh my god. Even I hear the Canadian accent over here. In and out. You guys are super welcome. Well, my goal again is always to just like give you guys information, right? Thank you, Isabel. That's why I'm here now. Does anyone have any questions though? Anything you want to talk about? I think I can invite people up on stage if anyone has like a video or like if they want to show your beautiful faces. I can just put it to my face, I think. Yeah, there we go. And I can close off this guy. I can close off this guy. I can close off this guy. But yeah, I think I can. Hold on, let me see. I'll move this over to this screen. Cool, yeah, I am still recording, perfect. But yeah, if anyone, I think I can. If anyone wants to, it feels very similar to, oh my god, Clubhouse. Where people can put their hands up and like pop in and like take over the camera. If anyone wants to, you totally can. I don't mind. Oh, I see Sham is typing. That went to Lisa. Yeah, so specifically for me, just like this is basically all information I've picked up piece by piece myself, of course, yeah, so you know, thanks for the information, Erin. It feels like we should know all of this, but I know from experience that we picked up bit by bit, 100%. Yes, when COVID hit and I was, you know, eating all of the bread and like, just being like, I guess I'm gonna learn more things about my business. the silver lining of the beginning of that was the first like 6 months of COVID. I basically just kind of like, well, I guess I'm not doing any work for clients because there aren't any right now. I'm just gonna try and dive into as much business stuff as I possibly can, and you know, through trial and error since then. But a lot of it came from the beginning of COVID, where I was really trying to figure out how best to maximize my time. Understanding pricing is so hard, so difficult. Am I planning on having something like this on a monthly basis? I mean, I can. I can just like reuse the same slide. And if more people have questions, different people can come. Unless you guys want to tell me like topics you want to talk about, that's fine too. I wasn't thinking about doing this every month, but I mean, it's also kind of fun. You made a conscious effort to niche down lately. It feels great to charge correctly but work less. Keeps the passion alive too. 100%. Oof. Nothing worse than when you're like, this is a great business and I love it so much. And then you work so much, you're like, I hate this. I don't want to do this anymore. And you're like, great. Nothing worse than that. No one wants to show their pretty face? Come on, I know you guys have webcams. Oh, Michelle's typing. No problem, Michelle. Thank you for sharing all of your secrets with us. No problem. They are all very out there for free, just as a thing. I'm not the only person giving this information for free out there. I'll yeah, the not so secrets, exactly. So I actually, a lot of this information I learned from my CRM, which is 17 Hats. At the beginning of COVID, like literally the world shut down in March, and in April they did 2 30-day challenges. One was a marketing challenge, and the other one was pricing for profit. And this is kind of like a very condensed version of that. And it was incredibly helpful. And it was the first time I'd ever seen someone give actual numbers versus just tell me charge your worth. Because I'm like, I don't know what that means. What does charge your worth mean? I don't understand what that is. That doesn't make any sense to me. Or, you know, you just need to charge enough. And I'm like, what is enough? Like, I never understood what that meant. So this was the first time I had ever had anyone explain to me what... how to math this so it made sense. Even though I'm not really a mathy person, I didn't want to always feel like I was on my back foot trying to figure out, well, I guess this person is charging this, so I guess this is what I should be charging as well. And then I always felt like, I don't know if it felt like enough. Like I never felt confident with it myself. So that was the first time I'd ever done it, and I was like, and it was, listen, when I tell you I was not good at spreadsheets, okay? I don't think I'd ever used them before, ever. And I'm sitting here going, I don't understand formulas. I don't know what this means. I know formulas there is a thing. I don't know what that means though. I have no idea. I think I maybe broke down crying twice because I was like, I don't understand how this works. Like it was very emotional for me. Like trying to figure it out. I'm not gonna lie. And then I got through it. And I was like, okay. And like the one that they did was much more detailed than this, where it was really like, go and find your prices for everything you've ever done, and getting really into the minutia of it, which was very overwhelming for me because I had not done anything like that before. But like going through it was tough, and then I did it again a year later, and I was like, oh, this makes much more sense now because I have much more data to go by. So that was a lot easier for me to go through. And then I did it a third time. I was like, oh, okay, this makes much more sense. And then I made my own spreadsheet for myself, which is what you guys saw there. The first one I made it for myself was just kind of like trashy. It didn't look very nice. Let me tell you that much. But yeah, that's why I made it. And then I was just like, I'm sure I'm not the only person who has a mental breakdown when they have to think about math and the pricing and understanding what that means. Because again, charging your worth doesn't mean shit when you don't know what what does that mean monetarily, right? For me. So again, that's also kind of why I wanted to talk a little bit about your goals, because I don't love the attitude of you have to make X amount of money to be considered successful. I don't think that that's very useful, and I don't think that that's very helpful, because not everyone has a single. Anyways, that's my little soapbox moment there too as well. Ashley, I struggle like hell with my pricing. Like I legit run my prices past my boyfriend. He's a stationer. My boyfriend, so I know I'm not screwing myself over. Yeah. I used to do the same thing with my husband. Not a stationer, engineer. In no way, shape, or form is he even close to being in this business at all. But he does consulting sometimes, so he understands a little bit more about like charging the hourly stuff and how to do the admin things. But yeah, so that was helpful, at least at that point, because he was kind of doing a bit of freelance, and I guess like calligraphy is a bit of freelance as well, so it was a little bit easier. And I think having someone behind you telling you that you are worth the price that you're charging is also incredibly helpful. Or someone behind you, literally he would stand behind me and just be like, charge more. Charge more. Like always. I would literally send an email and be like, you should charge more. Erin, charge more. You should charge more.